I'm Shoogle McDougall. I am a Scott Lit graduate, now studying creative writing as a night class. I've been on the SRC for 2 years as Disability Equality Officer, and I'm running for SRC VP Student Support.
Great. So you mentioned in your manifesto that student support services are struggling under increased pressure and flatlining budgets. How confident are you that you will be able to fund the promises in your manifesto?
I think the promises I've made in my manifesto are all very kind of student focused and student led. So a lot of the promises I've made are involving kind of student initiatives and training programs for students, so that way it's a lot more sustainable. We've been pushing for more funding for CAPS for years, and it's just not happening. And I think peer support, suicide prevention training, these are the ways forward to really kind of alleviate some of the pressure on CAPS. I also think that we need to do a lot more work on the support that students can get for other mental health support out with CAPS. So, for example, if you are registered with the Disability Service, you can get DSA funded mental health support, which would alleviate a lot of the pressure. So, yes, my promises involve more support, but not necessarily directly funded from the university. Or at least not in a kind of directly funding CAPS, but funding projects that are maybe more sustainable and that students can use themselves. For example, like the peer support rollout, which at the moment is only in 2 schools. Recently the university were really keen to have mental health be one of their unique selling points, and this was discussed at court. But in order to do that, they kind of need to put their money where their mouth is. And I think something like peer support is quite an easy sell, because they can see that it's then going to be sustained going forward by students themselves, and I think that's going to be easier to sell than let's increase CAPS funding, which people have been asking for years.
Okay, great. How would the befriending programme increase engagement in clubs and societies, and is this something that has been successful in other universities?
So the befriending idea kind of came from when I was president of LGBTQ+. We offered befriending as part of that. So for students who were maybe a bit nervous about coming to an event or coming for the first time, they could email a committee member, they would be met kind of before the event, and then they would have somebody to come to the event with. So it kind of grew from that. And there's been recent requests from several students who have got in touch and said, you know, I suffer from anxiety, or I'm a home student and I don't know many people. I really want to join X club or go to this event, but I'm really nervous about going by myself. And I think something like a befriending scheme would give people the confidence to go to a new club or society, and I think also would give students, volunteers, something new to work on. The volunteering initiatives here are fantastic, but I think we need to do more on campus. And I think something like a befriending scheme could really help benefit both the volunteer and the students who would be coming to the clubs. Particularly in my head, I'm kind of thinking about students who are your non-traditional students, so home students, disabled students, mature students, often cite kind of lack of engagement with wider student life as a reason for dropping out of uni, and the retention rates there are a lot, like, you know, there's a lot more dropouts in those demographics than there are amongst other students, and a lack of kind of engagement is often cited as one of the causes. So I see a befriending scheme as a way to kind of introduce more peer support and kind of introduce people to the social side of uni, really.
Okay, good.
So your befriending scheme and the peer support initiative rely on students to support their fellow students, which obviously is fantastic. However, do you think that the onus should be on students to support their peers, as opposed to the university increasing funding to services such as CAPS?
No, I don't. I don't think that the university should be let off lightly, but I think that when we are looking at ways to kind of improve student life in the short term, especially when we ask for more money for services, inevitably it's never going to happen overnight, and I think we need to take initiative and think of ways to support our own student population. I don't think that it should be relied on, and I certainly don't think that the university should see it as a kind of easy opt-out, that, oh well, the students are going to deal with this, so we don't have to. But if you look at other kind of student-led training initiatives, like the recent sexual violence prevention training, people have been really keen, people have been really excited to kind of be involved in something that's benefiting fellow students, and I think there is definitely demand for peer support. We hear it a lot at council. Lots of different council members have emails from people within their schools, so school reps hear it from class reps from other students, welfare reps, we hear it directly as well. They know that peer support exists, and they think it's incredibly unfair that at the moment it only really exists in the schools with money, which is MVLS and the business school. So we know that the demand is there, so I don't think would be seen as kind of fobbing off supporting students on other students. I think the demand is actually there for it, and I think it's then capitalising on that demand.
Could you outline what is meant when you say holistic and consistent support for young carers at university?
Yes, so at the moment the university is very committed to widening access, and they're really committed to kind of getting people in the door. So there's lots of schemes for people like care leavers, for adult returners, there's access schemes, there's adjusted entry requirements, there's all sorts of things to help people get here. There's also quite good kind of financial support in terms of hardship funds and grants and things like that. But there isn't really any support after that. So we still see a lot of dropouts in that demographic of students, and it's because there isn't really any support once you're here. So there's no social support, for example. There's no network where care leavers can meet other care leavers and kind of discuss the issues of coming to university under very different circumstances from your average student. We've got other networks that exist, like the Disabled Students Network, and there's a carers network as well. And we've seen from this that students really appreciate kind of sharing with people that understand what it's like. And for care leavers, there's just nothing. The uni does provide a named contact who is somebody within the widening participation team, and he's responsible for kind of looking after care leavers. But there's no targeted support at particularly difficult times. So, every student struggles around exam time, and there are particular points in the year that are always seen as very difficult points for students, and there isn't any kind of increased support for these already vulnerable students at those times. So I really want to see kind of, while the uni is committed to bringing in more people through widening access, that they actually want to provide the support for care leavers, adult returners, and all of these people that do have a very different experience to the rest of us here at uni.
Great. By what means are you going to ensure a smooth rollout of this suicide prevention training?
So the suicide prevention training at the moment, the plan is to train staff and students. And for me, seeing a smooth rollout means kind of making sure that we're doing it in the right order. So for staff, for example, we need to be prioritising who gets it first, and that's obviously staff who are student facing and who have pastoral roles, so people like advisors of studies, disability champions, anybody who is kind of there for student support within schools and colleges. And then from there, I would see kind of looking to clubs and societies that have an interest in support and welfare and kind of rolling it out that way. Basically, I think it needs a lot of planning to make sure that we get it out in the right way, so that we are ensuring that it becomes kind of something sustainable that goes forward, rather than rolling it out too quickly or not thinking about the best way to do it. So I think, for me anyway, it involves kind of really thinking about where are students going to go, because we need to make sure that the people that are going to be the first port of call are the ones that are trained first, essentially. So it's just about kind of making sure that we think really wisely about kind of the order in which we roll that out.
Okay, and so what kind of time period do you think this is going to, how long do you think this is going to take to roll out?
So currently the plan for the suicide prevention training is to have the training begin kind of sometime over the summer and into the first semester, and it's a train the trainer model. So it's a bit like the the sexual violence prevention training, where people will be trained to then deliver the training. So as soon as they're trained, we're ready to go, essentially. So from there, what I want to see is making sure that it's trickling down to the right channels. So for example, making sure that all advisors of studies are trained first, because they're the people who are most likely to be dealing with any kind of pastoral issues. But then from there, we also need kind of heads of school to be trained, so that they know that if an issue comes up to them from one of their lecturers or their tutors, that they have the training and they're equipped to deal with those kind of sensitive issues. So I think, if it's in my head, I see it quite like the sexual violence prevention training, where once we've got the trainers trained, we can very much roll it out ASAP in sessions similar to the way that we rolled out sexual violence prevention training.
So do you think that there would be a reasonable kind of safety net within like a year, say?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I would see it is that training would be delivered from semester 1 of the next academic year. Everything is being planned at the moment. The funding has been awarded, so we know that we have the money and that we have the resources to get the people trained. So at this moment in time, I see it kind of as soon as the new year starts.
Okay. So I want to ask about your claim to have secured gender-neutral facilities for new developments on campus, where other candidates are only promising to push for them.
Yes. So at the moment I sit on the Equality and Diversity Design Standards Board, and I have fed back to Council, so it is public knowledge that within the Equality and Design Standards we now have guarantees that there will be gender-neutral toilets in every new building. There will be changing places, which are toilet facilities for disabled adults that have proper facilities. At the moment we don't have any on campus. We've also been guaranteed that there will be child-friendly study space, and there's also a trial of that coming quite soon to level 9 in the library. And the quiet and reflective spaces as well, although we don't have a name for what they're going to be called yet. But those design standards have been written and it has been fed back, so it is public knowledge that these things have been achieved already. What is important now is making sure that the university actually delivers on those claims. We have really supportive equality and diversity champions within estates and buildings who are really keen to see this in every new building on the new development. So we just need to make sure as an SRC that over the next few years we are just ensuring that they stick to those standards that they've now put down on paper.
Okay, great. So, if elected and look back over your term in a year's time, what do you think would be considered to be the markers of your success in a year? I mean, like what?
What criteria have you set yourself for success?
For me, the criteria that I've set myself is based within my manifesto. I think it's quite clear that I'm really keen on improving the student experience for particularly vulnerable and underrepresented students. And so for me, a marker of success would be to see more of these students involved in the SRC. Last year during Freshers Week, despite the fact that we have registered students on campus in their 80s, the oldest Freshers helper was 30. So it doesn't really reflect the diversity of our students here. The same goes for sort of disabled students and students who are parents. We don't really see them getting involved in the SRC. So for me, that would certainly be one marker, is if I could say, here's people that are now involved in the SRC and know how valuable and kind of enriching it can be to be involved. And so that would definitely be one. I think to see the peer support is a really big one for me because the demand is there. We hear it all the time and students are desperate for this to be rolled out. We even have students kind of taking their own initiative to try and set up peer support in their colleges, and they're hitting a brick wall because of the funding issue. So I think if I was in a year's time was able to look back and say we got peer support rolled out to every single college and every single school, that would be a huge marker of success for me as well.
Okay, great. I think that's us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.